Dale girls was staying with us, and she said, why don't you come up with me? We're going to have a couple weeks of camp in the wilderness, and it was one of the best camps I've ever been to, but I also worked on her dad's farm, and I've never worked so hard in my life. They said, you come up to the farm and you pick roots. I said, pick roots? You can do that. Anybody can pick roots. You know, I go into my flower bed, and I go pull out the odd dandelion and weed and stuff like that. No problem, right? I've never worked like this in my life. First day I got up in the morning, I woke up, and I said, they said to me, what would you like for breakfast? I said, oh, I don't need breakfast. It's all good. And I said, well, and they said, oh, are you sure? I said, yeah, no problem. I mean, I've worked hard, and I've gone out and done all these kinds of things, and I'll be just fine. Okay, they let me go. We got the field. And they never said that roots were tree stumps. And when you pick roots, you're not only picking roots, you're picking boulders up. And picking boulders up because they're trying to get the field prepared for the harvest, right? Or not for the harvest, but blow and plant for the very first time. So we're out in this field. It is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. I thought, a field, I think of the garden out here in the back. I think, oh yes, no sweat. I can handle that. But in my mind, I was obviously deceived because I got out there and it was this massive, massive, massive field. Now my buddy, Mel Blackaby, he went with me and he's up there and he says, oh, you guys do that. I'm going to start plowing this other field. They're going to let me drive the tractor. He never said why he wanted to do that because the tractor he was driving was air conditioned and had a stereo. We were driving a tractor that was probably older than me at the time by about 20 or 30 years. And it had your dreams, all those old visions of these old tractors that you see that are on the side of the road now, they've turned into sort of museums. That's what we were driving. And we had a trailer, and then we had to pick these roots up, and we had to throw them onto the back of the trailer, pick up rocks, throw them on the back of the trailer, and then we would drive to a big pile, and then we'd throw them all off, and then we had the joy of lighting diesel fires and lighting these big piles on fire and clearing the field for the farmer. Because when the farmer gets ready to plant anywhere, he has to get the field prepared. He has to get it worked. He has to get the soil turned. He has to get it all perfect in order to be able to go and plant his seed. And so this is what our job was. At the end of the day, I'll just let you know, I ate a pretty good meal. I ate a pretty good lunch. I ate a pretty good supper. And the next morning I had 3 bowls of cereal. So I wasn't too fooled again the next morning. I said it was the hardest work. If you ever want to work hard, if you want to have a good experience like that, go and ask work on the farm with somebody and help them get a field prepared. So that's been our story this morning, the parable that Jesus is telling. He says, let me tell you this parable. He says, there's a guy that goes out and prepares a field. So in my mind, when the first time I read this as a child, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's no big deal. That's hard work. This guy has worked put his blood, sweat, and tears into clearing this field and preparing it. Now, if you go over to Israel, the fields are even different. I get the impression from pictures I've seen they're very rocky, the soil's tough because of the heat and so forth. And so this is tough work, guys. This is hard work. So this guy, he's out in the field, he's preparing it, he's getting all the crud out of the way, all the rocks out of the way. Who's it that is the farmer? Do you remember? In the story, it's God. God works hard at preparing us. So he's out there, he's hoeing the field, he's breaking the soil, he's attaching that plow to a set of oxen, he's working that oxen, and that in itself is a major thing, because you have to sort of make sure you go straight. You can't just let the ox go wherever they want, because you have to pick a point down at the other end, make sure you hit that point, and then come back and do the same thing, and you work that field, hours and hours and hours of work of preparation before the farmer even thinks about throwing the seed. So then he goes, and he sows his seed. And their way of sowing is not like quite as easy as ours. They would go out manually and they broadcast that seed all over. And sows and sows and sows. And he looks at his field and he goes, this is going to be really good. He spent some good money on the seed. He made sure he had good seed. He didn't get cheap seed. He didn't get the stuff that like I bought to try to pass doing anything. It just looks at me, and I look back at it, and I go, "What are you doing?" And it just smiles at me. It mocks me. He picks the best seed possible. He goes up and sows that seed. And he sits on his porch that night, and he goes, "This is going to be a good thing. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be the best planted crop I've ever done." And he goes to bed. And in the night, here comes these guys, sent by his enemies. And he takes seed that he's collected. He's watched this guy. He's worked hard. I'm going to get him. And he says, "You take this seed, workers, for me. I want you to go take this, and we will broadcast it in his fields." And in the middle of the night, he comes and he broadcasts. So in the middle of the field, God's field, the rows and rows and rows and rows and rows, he's planted. The enemies come and plant weeds. In the Bible, some Old Testament or older versions might say tares, and tares and weeds are the same thing, but the idea is what he planted in there really was something that looked exactly the same as all of the other seed that he planted. Now, Ardell and I planted some, what are they called, cosmos this year. And as they're coming up, we're not gardeners in any form or fashion. And my sister said, "What do you want to plant?" I said, "Well, I don't know. What do you think we should plant?" She said, "Plant cosmos, because basically you plant them, you let them go, and they do their own thing. And water them every so often. And we got some miracle grow. Right? Throw the miracle grow on this week." But as they're coming up, we don't know what to pull out. We don't know what to weed. Because we don't know what we're looking for starters. Well, in our parable here, though, the difference is that the farmer sees this stuff coming up, and after a few weeks of growing, and then what he realizes, the owner or the slaves or the servants realize that there's something not right here. Because in their midst, in the rows of the weeds that's growing, there is another thing that's growing, and it's weeds. And they realize that they're very similar, but obviously they're keen eye, they're farmers. They realize there's something in there that's not right. And so, what do they do? What would we do? Well, my first thought is we'll go in there and pull all those weeds out. But then I realized, I said to Ardell the other day in our garden, our flower garden, I said, "I don't know which one's weeds and which one's the cosmos." And now, she was a little smarter than I am, but she realized the cosmos are in straight rows. The weeds are over here, there, and there. But for me at first, it's like, "Oh, we better not pull anything out until we know for sure." So in their case, they come back to God. They come back to the farmer, and they say, "So, Master, what should we do?" He says, "Just leave them alone. Because if you pull up the weeds," remember that they had broadcast seeds. It's not in rows. It's easy for me to just pick up an arm. He says they're going to be all mixed together. You mess too much with those counterfeit seeds, those seeds that are not real, the ones that are bad, the ones that are poison, you're going to end up pulling out the good ones. And so they listen. So he gives them some more further emphasis. Says, "When you wait until the harvest, and what we'll do at the harvest, we'll gather up the weeds first, and we'll burn them and get rid of them and throw them away, and then we'll take the wheat and gather it together and bring it into my barns." See, God's going to gather his wheat and bring it into his barns. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is twofold this morning. One is, do you know what is good and what is bad? Do you know what the wheat is, and what is the weeds? Do you know? The other question is really important, I think. Do you know which one you are? You see, there is a lot of counterfeit Christians today. There's a lot of people who think they understand. They're believers. They're church members. They've been baptized. They go to Sunday school. They go to fellowships. They go to all difference between the weeds and the weeds. So which one? Which one are you? And God is at work in the field, and Satan is also at work. In our churches, when I think about the rows and rows, and we think about the field, just think about our church here. This is actually a pretty good example of a field, a farmer's field. We got rows upon rows upon rows upon rows of seed that's been planted. And in that seed, there is sometimes, unfortunately, we're going to have weeds. It's tough. So what do you do? We get too much focus on the weeds. We're trying to focus on the weeds. We worry that the weeds are also stealing from the nutrition and the value, or the water and all that's in the soil to be able to get to grow. Well, we could. But I think this passage of Scripture is saying that you continue to water, you continue to give the nutrition that you need, you continue to fertilize, so to speak, and take care of the fields that God has given us to take care of, and you don't worry about those other things. Allow God to take care of them. The seed of Satan has a tendency to distract us, to choke us at times, and is going to cause us lots of problems at times. It looks like wheat, it acts like wheat, it talks like wheat, and it says it is wheat. But it gossips about the wheat. It steals water from the wheat. It tries to make the wheat die. It tries to destroy the quality of the fruit the wheat is going to produce. It does all these kinds of things. It causes us to wonder, what should we do? Well, Jesus tells us what to do. The farmer tells us what to do, doesn't he? He says, you keep on working. You keep on working that soil. You keep on taking care of my field. You keep on doing as I call you to. I've learned in probably, how long have I been a believer? I don't know. It's going to be a long time now. Over 35 years. So longer than some of you have been alive. That's longer than most of you have been alive. Except for... Yes. But the reality is, I've come to realize that too often we let the weeds take our attention. Those ones who do all the griping, all the gossiping, all those kinds of things, and we let the others, because we think they'll be okay, we just let them go to the side. As believers, as brothers and sisters in Christ, we need to take care of one another. We need to love one another. We need to care for one another. We need to go deeper than what, as we've said over the last couple of weeks, than what the world expects us to go. In our church, these counterfeit wheat, like plants, are working hard to make the world turn away. A time is coming, though, when the farmer, the owner of the field, will come in and harvest. He has a keen eye, and he will remove the weeds and destroy them, and then will take his wheat to store it in his hands. But now, I think we need to ask ourselves, which seed are you? You can act like seed sown by God, but are you acting like wheat? Ask yourself these few questions. Do I gossip? Do I talk behind the backs of others? Do I work to help the body? Do I live for God on Sundays and the rest of the week? I live for the will and safety. It might help you to understand, am I wheat or am I weeds? Who am I, and what is it that is really important to me? What is it that really matters to you? What is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes you understand that who you are? counterfeit Christians. We need men and women turned on for Jesus Christ. In Luke's Gospel, the 6th chapter, verses 24 through 26, and it won't be like last Sunday. I made sure these passages were the right ones. So don't worry. If you go there and you look at Luke's Gospel, the 6th chapter, verses 24 through 26, hear what Jesus says to us. It's a good warning to us. He says, in my Bible, I've written in the margin, ask yourself, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do the things I say? I'll show you what someone is like who comes to me, hears my word, and acts on them. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundations on the rock, which, when the flood came, the rivers crashed against the house and couldn't shake it because it was well built. But the one who hears and does not act like the man who built a house on the ground without a foundation, the river crashed against it, and immediately it collapsed, and the destruction of that house was great. Why do you call me Lord, Lord? Not me. Why do you call him Lord, Lord? Yet you don't do what he says. Have you thought about that yourself? Have you thought about that? Have you realized that, you can build the biggest and most mighty sandcastle in all the world. You can make the most impressive structure. I don't know if you've ever been to any of these places that they've done that. They pack the sand and they make it this beautiful, beautiful looking thing. They make statues of people, of castles, of houses. Yes, there's a child who builds this little house of sand on the ground by the ocean. And when the rain comes, they both are washed away. You can build all you want. You can make the most amazing structures for yourself. But if you are one of the weeds, one day, you can build it yourself. It's inevitable. Choose for yourself who you're going to serve, as the Scripture tells us. Here's a warning to those who are weeds in the church, those who look like Christians on the outside. In Matthew's Gospel, again, back in Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. Check your heart here, it says. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who does the will of my Father in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, didn't I not prophesy in your name? Did not I drive out demons in your name and do many miracles in your name? And I'll answer them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you lawbreakers. Well, this is a tough passage of Scripture, because I believe within our churches today, in our congregations, we have people that are pretending to be believers, pretending to be Christians, but you know what? It also says, did you not prophesy in my name? Who are they talking to? Preachers. We need to be very careful today who we listen to, what we listen to, and who we put our trust in, because we need to be sure that they're in the Word of God and following what He's commanded of us to do. We need to be sure that they are weak as well. If you look across the world, across television today, across all those different things, that the media, you're going to find preachers who stand up and proclaim God's Word, and say that they're proclaiming God's Word, and realize they're not His. They do not drive out demons. They do not do many miracles in your name. And yet Jesus says to them, depart from me, I never knew you. You want to be one of those who sit in the pew on a Sunday and look like a Christian, act like a Christian, talk like a Christian, but never walk like a Christian. One day, our Lord will return. And separate. My desire is to be like the servant in Matthew chapter 25, who hears the Master say, well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, good and faithful servant. What is it that you want to do? Who is it that you want to be? examine our hearts. Are you wheat or weeds? God's desire for us is to be wheat and produce its fruit in season. He desires to take you home to His barn. God wants to bring us back to Him. Will you remain in your false counterfeit life, or will you be transformed into the real thing? I listened to a preacher this week, and I won't tell you who his name is because sometimes I'm not sure of his preaching, because he's sometimes a little different than I, but he's talking about counterfeit Christians. And you know, one of the things he challenged his congregation on is, did you come for just a happy pill this morning? Did you come just to feel good so that you had that good feeling for the week, and then you go home, and then you wait till next Sunday for that, because the rest of the week, you're not living for Him. Are you coming to be entertained in the morning? Are you coming to hear the worship team and make you feel really good and happy? Or are you coming to praise Almighty God, who deserves our full attention, our full focus? Are you here this morning for a sermon that's going to make you think, oh, yeah, I got it pretty good? That doesn't challenge you. What is it that you are here for this morning? Do you want an encounter with Almighty God? Do you want to know the one who can change your life? Do you want to know the one who can make you into something amazing? Do you want to know the one who can take wheat and perform an amazing miracle and turn it into wheat? You can have that encounter this morning if you turn your lives over to Him. Give Him the opportunity to make your life full and fruitful. He's been working the field. He's been going up and down, up and down, up and down. These pews. Preparing it, getting it ready. And He's sowed now the seed.